series on how to become data scientist, and this is targeted for students, working professionals, separately. So this is kind of like targeted for people who are going to start working soon. Okay, so just a second. Yeah. So going ahead, you see, data science is actually such a buzzword that everybody wants to become a data scientist, and that's the problem. You see, if you wanted to become data scientist before, 4 years before, it would have been such an easy time. If you take a look at Siraj Rawal, he's extremely popular celebrity, and his content was not that in depth, but still he was at least as popular as Andrew Ng, who started the field, who led the Google's team, who did most of the work setting up the field himself. Why was he so popular? One, his content was engaging. That's one part, definitely. So it's like he was one of the first ones. And in terms of ML, I've seen people who are quite active on Instagram, who don't share that original post, but still become quite popular. And that's why everybody sees, oh, okay, they don't have much knowledge. Maybe I also do the same thing. I'll become a data scientist. But you see, the problem here is it's not just the knowledge part. It's, am I not audible?
I can hear you,
Yeah,
Ajinkya.
Yeah, so those who can't hear me, I guess you'll have to reconnect. Anyways, so because it feels like that there are two common reasons everybody wants to become data scientist. One is it needs less efforts, and two is it pays more. And because of these two, in the herd mentality, when anybody finds a shortcut, right, everybody takes that shortcut, and that shortcut becomes crowded, and it becomes the long cut. It would have been a shorter distance, definitely, but because everyone is taking that path, it becomes crowded, and the net time it requires to go to the destination becomes higher. It's the same thing in data science. The thing which made it a popular choice, they are no longer true because everyone is taking those same paths. So my advice is one, either don't become a data scientist, look for a similar role which is in the field of data science. Either you do that, or the other option is become data scientist, but you have to become good. You see, the first path, which this is the path, it's you will kind of like don't have to spend a lot efforts. Whereas if you do go for a data science path, then you have to know that you have to work more, you have to be pretty knowledgeable to become data scientist. So it's not like before where people with less knowledge got buy into the field. It's not gonna work. So the strategic choice, in my opinion, is like don't become data scientist. But if you are actually interested in the field, and how do you know you are interested in the field? After you have been in the field for at least 2 3 years. Most of the students or most of the working professional who start, most of the messages I get on LinkedIn, they say, okay, I'm interested in the field of data science, I want to do. You are just mildly intrigued. Okay, there is a difference, liking somebody while you are dating and liking them after you have gotten married and after few years of marriage. What do you feel after few years of marriage? That's the reality. It's the same thing for data science. In the beginning, things are cool, but when you actually start the job, when you actually start working, then it might not be as a dream job as you might feel. So don't go into this data science in the kind of with romantic eyes. That's my honest recommendation. I mean, the reality is like it's a job. It's a job like any other job. It pays a bit more, but that's just temporary. So, make a strategic choice. It's like either choose path number one or path number two, and you have to know based on the what path you have chosen, you have to learn accordingly. Okay, so going ahead, let me just talk a bit about myself and why I am actually taking these sessions and who am I to preach others about what to do and how to do. So I work at Google as a machine learning and data engineering instructor. My job to teach Google's trainers, it's not trainers, sorry, Google's customers and partners on machine learning and data analytics and data engineering. Okay. So, but before I was a trainer at Google, I was a freelance instructor. So I started in the field as 2000 in 2016. I shifted from software development, which was my first job in Morgan Stanley. So I have transitioned from software development to data science, and I learned everything online. So I did that shift in 2016, spent around for 6 months, something, learning everything I could just online. That's why I actually know, most of the classes, you don't need them. They teach the same thing. It's just the copy paste material. They won't add much value. You are unnecessarily wasting your money. And that's why I try to kind of like save you money, trying to give you honest advice. And because I'm not getting anything doing these courses, it's just that I don't want you to waste time and money, right? Especially with the coronavirus, possible coming recession or depression. You don't want to waste your money. You don't want to waste your time. Time is much more valuable now. If you're skilled, if you become skilled, then kind of like it makes a huge impact on your employment once you are ready by the time market recovers. Anyways, going forward, this is like an extremely relevant thing if you're a student or if you're a working professional. You see, we start learning something, but what happens is like you start doing that, and after some time, it becomes, you find something else, you like something else, and this is the reality, right? You start with something which is the latest cutting trend, and then you kind of like go back to original. When you get bored with it, you go to the next cutting trend. So whether it is like starting a gym, starting exercise, learning something, the enthusiasm generally lasts for a few weeks, at most a month. After that, something new. You see, if this is how you kind of like are going for data science, it will also become demotivating. My point in data science is simply, it's like, don't start from scratch, right? If you have experience of, let's say, few years, then starting from scratch in field of data science makes sense. But if you have been working for more than, let's say, 3 4 years, then it doesn't make any sense to start and try to become data scientist when you don't have to, right? You already have some things which are kind of like you have knowledge. Is my PowerPoint still visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask few questions. Like, how many people are students here? How many people are students? Okay, I'm checking the chats. Mm, one student. So how many people are working professionals?
Yeah, I'm working.
One, two. Okay, three. Okay, perfect. So good. I mean, I targeted this for working professionals because, oh, good. Yes, people are raising hands. Perfect. So in Zoom, there is this, if you open chat, you or somewhere there is this thing which has control wherein you can raise your hand or something. Cool, cool. I need to learn these features. But anyways, so my point here is if you are a working professional, uh, hi, am I audible?
Yeah, you are
Yes.
audible.
Yes.
Okay, my laptop crashed. Anyways, yeah, cool, perfect. So good that my intended target audience is here. Okay, so here, if you are a working professional, then it makes sense if you want to go into data science if your work ex is less than, let's say, 2 years, because your previous work experience told you or it taught you how to kind of like work in a corporate. And then if you want to start from scratch in a new field of data science, then you have not wasted much of your time. But if you have more than 2 years of experience, less than maybe 2 to 6 or 7 maybe, then my recommendation is you don't have to start from scratch. You see, when you start from scratch, you are letting go of the knowledge you already have built in whatever job you're doing. It's not that data science is the only high paying role. There are other roles who also pay the same thing, who are in the vicinity of data scientist. And eventually, in time, you will be able to shift to data science. So it's much better to shift as a data scientist role rather than directly aim at it. And when you look at your data science journey, when you decide, oh, okay, I do want to become a data scientist, but not directly. So let's say you are a software developer. Okay. So if you are a software dev and your final target is data scientist, so DS is for data scientist. I would do, there is one of the ways is like you start by becoming data engineer, or you could become data architect, or you could become maybe DBA, data architect is kind of same thing, or you kind of like become software developer plus cloud computing. And then after cloud computing, you can add, let's say, data analytics or BI skill, business intelligence, dashboarding, and data science. Or you can kind of like learn ETL, and then the ETL is also useful, very useful, ETL plus cloud. And then after that, you can shift to data science. There are lots of indirect paths. They'll take a few years, but what will happen is like you are not, starting from scratch. You are complementing pre-existing skills by adding these skills to them. So other roles are where how you should be aiming. And if you have more than, let's say, 6-8 years of experience, generally in India, if you have worked for more than, let's say, a decade, what happens is like your technical hands-on expertise, they are still there. It's just that, but the management part, the business interaction, that increases. So if you are working or if you're into the management and these things, and you have spent more time on the business side, then there are more other roles which emphasize more the business and management overlap. So that's how one should be targeting. If you are starting from that, then you are not wasting your time. Otherwise it's just a waste of time doing all the courses which are available on Coursera or Udemy. So don't become data scientist. You have to add data science skills to your pre-existing skill set. And this is like freshers, let it be. So when I say data science is interdisciplinary, it means you work in a domain. So domain could be banking. So Yes Bank, Yes Bank had restrictions. So PhonePe, whose entire backend was based on Yes Bank, they spent a lot of time shifting their entire payment backend from Yes Bank to ICICI and 24 hours. So in the banking also there are lots of sectors. So it's just payment apps like UPI apps. That's just one sector. Housing loan, credit cards, personal loan, business loans, high frequency loans, maybe LIC. There are so many things in the banking itself that when you decide a domain, or if you are already working in a domain, it already kind of like makes your profile much more appealing than anybody else. If you are working, you are already working in a domain. You might most likely already be working in software development, or even if you are not, it's okay. What happens is data science lives at an intersection of the domain, the software development, and data science itself. So because it lives at the intersection, you can augment or shortcut your journey to data scientist by starting from domain to data science. So your domain to data science, this is how you should be. You want to go here. You don't have to become hardcore data scientist. You see, if you become this, then the amount of work you might have to do, the hardcore work, that's going to be too much. That's not what you want to do. You want to simply focus on least bit of knowledge you can spend to get what you want. That's all. So that's how you can reduce the time and efforts required to become something. So in the data science, there are a lot more roles. So this is where not many people make an informed choice. You see, data science researcher is the most popular role, because the most popular researcher in the world is Andrew Ng. He is the one who co-founded Coursera. He is the one who led the team in Google, who implemented the data science solution in the Google. He was the guy who started the whole thing. And then he's the most popular. His courses are very popular. And that's why what happens, like everyone follows his advice and his courses. But the misconception here is his courses are targeted for everybody. That's not the case. He is a data science researcher, and many of the courses are generally good choice for data science researchers. But there are many other roles. And like I said before, those roles is what you want to target. So you have data science researcher and you have data scientist. Most people want to become this, not data science researcher. So data scientist is a software developer plus one who can develop machine learning models. So the development, debugging, testing, maybe deployment, all of these things. So software development plus development of ML model combined. That's a data scientist. Now, this is the job which has the most attraction, and this is what most people want to become. Then is the data engineer. So it's like any company, its whole future, present, past, whatever, it's completely based on data engineer. So even if data scientist builds a pipeline, builds a model, whatever he needs to be done, that is actually done by data engineer. So I teach these courses as well. So data engineers are in a huge demand. So if I take a look at number, maybe if a team is of 100 people, okay, maybe there are less than 10 researchers, maybe 10 to 20-ish data scientists. Then I would say data engineers would be again in maybe 20-ish or 20 to 25-ish. And there are other roles as well. So then there are data science deployment. So deployment guys will be maybe less than 5. So, but they are non-zero, right? If you are aiming to go into data science ML ops, the deployment part, and you are the only one in that line, even if there are less jobs, there are less people applying as well. Like I said in the beginning, because data science is popular, everyone is trying to be data scientist, and there are no other people in the line for the appropriate jobs. So I don't think you should just look at the available jobs. You should also look at how many people are trying to get that job. So not many people are aiming to go into deployment. Business analyst, I would say maybe 5 to 10. The technical sales, maybe 5 to 10. Same thing. So business analyst, I think less than 5. So business analyst is, more domain knowledge. So these are the guys who have more domain. So if you are already working in a pre-existing domain, the best bet is like, target maybe this role, extend, find out use cases in that corresponding domain, look at the case studies, see what different roles they have, see how you can see which role is the easiest for you to transition into as a step one, because your path towards get into the field of data science first, then what to do, that's a next step. And this is like, it has a secure future. That's why we are I'm recommending data science. Otherwise, and it would pay the same, I mean a bit on the higher side, but it's almost the same. If you're already into management, then you have to kind of like learn how to be a manager for data science. So the people management skills are same, but the people skills, the people, how the people work, right? It's different for data science. You can't simply expect a deadline in a sprint and expect a model to get certain accuracy. It's not how it works in data science. So a manager has to know how data science work is different from software development work. If he knows that, then he can manage them effectively. Otherwise, he's going to be an ineffective manager. A product manager also has to know how AI fits into my product. So combination of business. Product manager is a combination of business plus UX plus AI plus other skills, project management, and who are the stakeholders in that project, the business side, sales, interdisciplinary collaboration with all the teams. So you have to AI and UX of the AI. These are the things which he has to know. So based on your role, you decide what's your target. And when you do that, that is when it's the most effective way towards becoming a data science. So don't just aim for one role. I would recommend, okay, find out which is the role which is like your stepping stone. So in short, I'm trying to tell you, find your stepping stone. Each person will have a different stepping stone inside the field. So go ahead, Meenal, you have a question?
No question. Actually, just randomly I pressed it.
Yeah, okay. So let me please add the thing. It's useful. Is it in polls? No. Maybe is it in chat? Where is that, raising hands something? I can't see it myself.
Okay, so there is an option over there where you can see participants. There you can find a raise hand.
Yes, in the participants. Yes, next time, yeah, I'll remember that. Anyways, good. So if anyone has any question, you guys can raise hand, ask me to go slower, faster, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. So I have reset all these things, and on the participants, you can do more. Perfect. So going ahead, so you have to find your stepping stone into the field of data science, not the, just blindly aiming to become a data scientist. So it's the combination of domain, it's the combination of people management, it's the combination of software development, it's the combination of different available roles is what makes the journey much shorter. So that's it. That's the kind of like main crux of, how you reduce your, let's say, efforts required to do something. So remember, like I said, there are many roles in data science. You have to choose one role which involves least efforts to get into. That's your stepping stone. Then intersection of your current job, current domain, your current skill set. What is the role which involves least extra skills to learn and how you learn them? Then kind of like, because you're already working, it's much easier to find out what's being done in that field in your company. And that's how you get it. So this is my recommended way, which is like much better than any other way. It's like doesn't involve classes and courses which are expensive, and all the courses which are there, they simply target, data scientist or data science researcher. They don't consider rest of the roles. That's just stupidity. So kind of like towards the final conclusion is, once you know what is your role which you are aiming for, that determines what's your lens. What do I mean by lens? So if I am looking at the world through yellow lens, everything is going to look yellow. Similarly, the resources to learn data science, they are only targeted for data scientists. If you learn that, then you are unnecessarily learning the stuff which you don't have to learn because your intended goal is different. So know your lens so that you can customize what and how should you learn based on your current and target role, based on your current and target domain. So my recommendation is like your target domain should be same as your current domain. But if you do want to shift the domains, then you have to keep this in mind. But recommendation is like your target and current domain should be the same. Now you can change the roles. I would say same domain and you get into data science and then we change the domain. So if your final goal is changing in which domain you are working, then directly attempting to change domain is a harder one. So your stepping stone is step one, say a data science role in the same domain. Then similar role in a different domain. And then maybe you can become data scientist in that different domain. So it's 3 jumps. So it's kind of like on chess, right? There is queen. So we have and queen which is goes straight. So it's like, I want to go somewhere, it can directly go there. But if you take a look at knight, which knight jumps like, it takes 2 leaps and then it goes sideways. So to go somewhere, it has to take, different jumps and arrive at a certain path. That's the exact same way you'll have to approach if you want to change your domain. So please keep that in mind. And when you know your length, you can understand how you can get value out of the same resources which are available. So all the resources which are available on internet, they are targeted, like I said, for data scientists. So you learn the basics. Okay. You can't skip these basics. So simple scikit-learn, simple Kaggle learning, simple model creation. What does it exactly mean? I know a few people who are managers who are extremely good in the technical coding part just because they were interested in it. So it doesn't take a lot more time, few months, or maybe 6 months of 1 hour time. And anyways, everybody's stuck at home, I think majority because of the Corona thing. So it's like 1 quarter, it's going to be a different way of working. So you can choose this, spend time, but keep in mind, you are not learning to become a hardcore data scientist. You learn something, you think about how same thing would be used in your target role. How can you find resources about that? Maybe read some blogs, maybe read something else which can tell you, how stuff is done for that appropriate field. And when you keep doing that constantly, that's when you actually will fulfill your, let's say, aim to get into the field of data science. And then you can charge more and blah, blah, blah. So these are resources for machine learning. Then we have similar resources for deep learning as well. And how you use those resources, I've already told you that. So once you kind of like do this, then it's the question of actually getting hired. So because you are going into the same domain you already are, because you are finding a role which shares your pre-existing skills, then you will find it easier. If someone is completely fresher, for them it is difficult to show experience. And because they have no experience, most of freshers find it really hard to get a first job. Because you are working professional, you are trying not to start from zero, you are leveraging your pre-existing skill, then experience won't be issue for you guys. You have to be skilled, of course, you have to target the role properly. Then once you are skilled, then visibility and the noticeability part are pretty important. This is the time of content creation, and it's not the time of creating just content which is stupid copy paste. It has to be unique, it has to be useful, it has to be valuable. That's being content creator. So you can simply create content or you can curate content. So curation is what? I have gone on internet, searched on Google all the possible courses. Went through all the courses, their syllabus. I saw which ones are cheap. I saw different places, and out of, let's say, 30 to 40 courses, I shortlisted the ones which I thought were the best. This is curation. I didn't create any of the course. I simply curated which ones I think are better. So curation doesn't need that much time. So content creation it can also be curation. So when you share that, people don't have to do the same efforts by themselves to find resources for them. So this is the time of visibility. Leveraging LinkedIn is extremely important. Some of you, those who have come to the course, you have here because you saw my LinkedIn post. So LinkedIn visibility is very important. I got selected at Google. I got noticed by Google Recruiter because of my LinkedIn activity. So I was a freelancer, and the reason I got noticed was LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is essential. I would recommend it a lot. So be skilled, be visible, and be noticeable. That's it. So if you think whatever I've said is obvious, it is obvious. But like I like to quote Morpheus from Matrix here, there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. I've done what I've told you. That's why I'm a data science. I'm in data science researcher, training people. And it's the doing which is difficult. It's not what is not difficult is like knowing what to do. Everybody knows what to do. Everybody. Maybe it's the long path towards achievement. So I'm trying to give a better path. But it's still the same path will be available to everybody who is just simply being intentional and who knows material and who has done Google search. Same info is available. It's not the knowing part, it's the doing part. If you do it, you'll get it. That's it, plain and simple. You have to figure out how you can do it. So that's it from my side. If you wanna ask me any questions, I will currently have a Q&A, but in future, best place to kind of like follow me is on LinkedIn and Instagram. So on LinkedIn and Instagram, both my handle is same, Ajinkya Kolle 112. If you search me, I create machine learning video series on Instagram. It's also available on LinkedIn. I keep posting on LinkedIn as well. So whatever content I had, that's it. I'll take more time for Q&A. So let me stop the share. Let me share another screen. So if you open this link, website, which is slido.com, slido.com, and put in this code webinar. You will actually go to this webinar which I am currently hosting. So if you have any question, post it there. It will be visible to me here directly, and I'll go through all those questions bit by bit. So let's keep this Q&A flowing, and I hope it becomes useful to everybody. So go to slido.com, and the code you put is webinar. So slido.com, and the code you put is webinar. Let me just give you guys link of the video which is being streamed so that all the question and everything is available to you. So this is the link. Now I have sent it on the chat. So everyone, this is the link of what's currently happening. And if you have any questions, please ask those questions here. I still haven't gotten any questions. No question, guys? You can ask questions. Okay. Okay. So slido.com and webinar is how you can ask question, or you can ask question on the chat. But I think if you put it here, it will be easier. I can go through it one by one. So currently the question I'm answering is how to shift from system admin to data science role. So if you want to go into, if you are in the sysadmin, it's like it's Linux is the something which is pretty important for sysadmin. So I would say cloud computing could be one of the easier shift to do from sysadmin. So cloud computing, but infrastructure part. So if you do that, maybe you can also do Kubernetes, which is like DevOps. So sysadmin to DevOps or cloud computing infrastructure could be your next step. And then you can kind of like shift to cloud computing infra to, let's say, machine learning deployment and maintenance in data science. So like I said, it's not going to be a direct path, but if you shift slowly, it will be useful and you won't be wasting time and money and lots of efforts on abandoning whatever your current skill set is. Okay? Did I answer your question? Okay. Silence, but I hope I answered it. So I'll mark it as answer. So automation tester, and you want to switch into field of AI and ML. So for automation tester, I think the testing part makes the transition a bit difficult. If you can from tester to, if you can learn how to automate, it could be RPA or some other way of automating. From tester to moving to automation, who is on the development side, and then automation to RPA using AR. So step one, so it's going to be a pretty long path. So I think immediate next thing could be that, or you could simply start with cloud computing. So instead of directly going to AI and ML, cloud computing certification is good to get because there is a huge, many companies are moving to cloud, and they can kind of like, they need people who can do that. So then you can shift from cloud to AI, or you can go from automation tester to automation developer, then go to RPA, and then RPA to automation using AI. So you can do that. So mark this question as answered. 1+ year experience, currently working in banking domain as a software developer in Java. So like I said, it's banking domain. Then whichever project you are currently working on, I'm sure it will involve Java, a bit of SQL. So kind of like refining that and figuring out what are the other cases of AI and ML in the same domain, in the same project you are currently doing. If there is no such case, then find out other similar projects where AI ML stuff is there. In your company, you should be easily be able to find people who are working on that, finding internal documentation, and kind of like slowly learning how you can shift from software development to the data science. If you start this way, you'll develop contacts, and you'll kind of like journey to shift to field of data science should be easier. So, like I said, there are no customized courses which depend on domain and target role. Currently, all the courses which are available, the problem is all of the courses are aimed at data scientists. They're not aimed for data scientists at a domain. They are not aimed for other roles in data science. No. So, like I said, whatever courses are available, you have to look at them and you have to know that whatever those courses are teaching, that's not the role I'm targeting. So you have to figure out how to extract value out of them, which is suitable for your role. So this is what I have been trying to tell you from this course, which is webinar, which is like, learning to extract value, which is much beyond than what the course is doing. You have to do that by doing Google search or whatever. So data engineering is like you simply find out which cloud you want to go for, AWS, Azure, or Google. And then there are courses for each appropriate data engineering for that cloud. You take those courses, you give the certification exam, and then you can start searching for the roles in data engineering. So if you check the videos, I've already kind of like shared the resources which I recommend. So not just one course, you have to do multiple courses. So just check that. Any other courses, I've mentioned that on the webinar on YouTube video. You can simply backtrack to that and you'll get it. So data science intern for 6 months and you started as a software developer. So it depends, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're in data science or in software development, both of them have future. Data science has more future, that's why people are doing it. But if your role is good, if you are happy doing it, if your work is exciting, then I would recommend not to go for data science. Why? I mean, if there is no need, why? It's like, being in a nice company and something that's, doing work which excites you, that's much big win than the role you are doing. So currently, I'm luckily in data science, but it's the role which excites me. I'm an instructor, so it doesn't matter what thing I'm teaching. Seriously, I could be teaching anything. This is my data science webinar. Next webinar is, in an hour it is starting. That webinar is on productivity. So how to be productive? There is a separate webinar I am answering for that. So I can teach data science. I can teach self-improvement, I can teach productivity, I can teach how to learn anything. It's the teaching what I like. Similarly, you find out what do you like. If you like what you're doing, then no need to shift. So look at how good your days are. That should be your deciding factor. So your experience is non-technical. So in the non-technical, what exactly? I mean, can you share that, because it's non-technical sales? What is it? You can unmute yourself and mention details here.
It's operation.
Okay, so what do you do in the day-to-day job?
It's procurement, in supply chain and procurement.
Okay, wow. So there doesn't seem to be a similar thing here in data science, which can make your transition easier. So it involves a lot of collaboration and work with people, right? I'm sure it must involve, right?
Yes, correct.
So I think you see in data science, what you can do is like whatever procurement you are doing, whatever role you are doing. Now, if there are, let's say, some AI implementations in the same role, okay, which need AI. For example, currently we are on this software called a Zoom. Okay, so on Zoom side, there is going to be a role for everything. So if somebody who is on the implementation side goes to the sales side, they will be a better salesman. Why? Because they know everything which is to know at that scenario. Similarly, I think you'll have to spend time from that non-technical thing, finding role where your non-technical expertise will be valuable. If you do that, shifting to that role, slowly will be useful. I think if you start from data science from scratch, your pre-existing experience will not count. If you want to do that, then you can go ahead. But if you want to continue your current experience skill set, then I would recommend that part. So it's like when I say 2 years is not that much of a time, you can still start from scratch. But if it had been 5-10 years, then one should not drop the existing skills they have built. So does it make sense?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. So self so self-confidence. So confidence is based on competence, and competence, when you build the competence, confidence will follow. So no one trusts us, nobody does before you show the result. Do you think Mark Zuckerberg was trusted by people before the Facebook thing? Do you think people don't read Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk? He was almost bankrupt to the stage nobody was giving him any funding. It's like luckily he got funding. Luckily these things kind of like continued. And when the spaceship actually he built, when it worked, that's when everybody started kind of like applauding him and giving him funds. But before that, nothing. So you see, nobody trusts us. Of course they won't until you prove it. So competence, anyways, becomes a philosophical discussion. PSN offers a course on data science in I don't know the course exactly. I mean, but if it is not that expensive, I recommend giving it a shot. It's like if you just do one course, it's the point of view of that person alone. More courses you do, it makes your point of view well-rounded, and that well-rounded thing helps a lot. So that's my honest opinion. So again, question on IQ and hard work. So as long as it's in the range of normal and even below normal, it doesn't matter. Hard work is more than enough. So there are books which prove that. Book called as Peak, book called as Grit, book Mindset. So all of these things tell you how much other skills also matter. So of course, EQ is one of the factors, but it is not the only factor. You can kind of like bypass it by working more. Like I won't tell that I'm not smart. I am, but it's like I have also seen. So in one of my colleges, there was a classmate who was actually retarded. He was mentally retarded. So he had that condition, and he was not the worst person in my classroom in terms of marks. He fell in the middle range. So you see, even that is, and so IQ doesn't matter. I think it's just one factor. There are lots of other factors which are in your control. So startup, tech support. There are 2 people in my team. I work at Google as an instructor. So there are 2 people in my team who started in tech support. So they were, if you call Gmail support, they were the ones who used to take that call. So now they are instructors. Okay. So it's like, you see, giving up is common. And, after giving up, that's when all the future prospects stop. But as long as you kind of like keep on learning, keep on kind of like growing, then you can grow a lot. So don't worry, things are not completely hopeless. What you have to do is like you have to just keep working, and in few years things will get a lot better only if you keep working. So Google does have a course, MLCC or machine learning on Google Cloud, on Coursera, but they're not really that easy to understand for students. So that's why I've not recommended them. If you want, you can do the courses. Simply search MLCC and you'll find those courses. This is the most common question I get, and I was hoping I wouldn't get this question here, but here it is. How to get hired at Google? Answer: it doesn't matter which company. If you're good, you get hired. Not all good people get hired, but pretty necessary prerequisite is being that good. So be that good, and then things will follow. So what are the procedures to get hired? So procedure, I mean, as long as you have the knowledge, as long as your profile is good, apply from google.com careers. It's difficult getting shortlisted because not many people have good visibility. They can't showcase their knowledge. So shortlisting is done by the recruiters plus HR. So if your profile has to be different, it has to be unique, it has to showcase your knowledge. When that is there, you get shortlisted, and after you get shortlisted and your interviews happen, then it's all your knowledge. So do both branding plus visibility plus knowledge. When you do all three, you're done. This is where branding and visibility on LinkedIn and being different makes sense. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I post a lot, and my posts are not like other people's posts. I post by using movies and animes. So it's like that makes me different already. I post consistently. That makes me different already. And that is what kind of like makes me more noticeable. So it's the content, it's the consistency, it's the being intentionally different. That's how you get shortlisted. So you have to plan it. It's not accidental. So thank you for the feedback. So skill can be built, right? So just build skills. Rest doesn't matter. Really, rest does not matter. So I've gone through all the questions. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, so data engineer to data science is easier, much easier. So, data engineering role, if your current role involves, in the project of data science, be more involved on that side, be in contact with the data scientist, tell them your interests, tell them how you can learn, start contributing, do some POCs, and, do that for 6 to 8 months, 6 months, some bit of time every day. You can go into data science easily. You can become data scientist easily. Internship after 2 years of experience, I don't think that makes a lot more sense. If you take a look at the prospects it offers, I mean it doesn't feel like it's going to be that useful, but I'm not sure the exact situation. So I mean, if it makes sense for your situation, go for it. It might, I'm not sure. But if it was up to me, I would kind of like try to simply get a job where I get paid. You see, internship is not really that paid, so it becomes difficult to sustain that, and it becomes demotivating because then people kind of like start criticizing India, like how the relatives are and how sharp the words are. That becomes demotivating, and when you are demotivated, it becomes difficult to continue. So it's a lose-lose. So thank you. Thanks for the feedback. End-to-end. I haven't done Kaggle submissions because I knew always wanted to target a training role. So I didn't get time to do these things. But if you simply search for Kaggle solutions, you should find a lot more, lot many are available on websites. So thank you for the feedback. So, there are stages towards the end thing. So you want to become instructor in data science. So before you want to become instructor, there are two things: being an instructor, being a data science. So it's like you have to be good at both. Being good at teaching, being good at technical part. When you are both, then you can break into the instructor space. I mean, it's simple. It's a line. As long as you can plot the chart towards where you want to go, as long as fill in the dots, you get there. If you want to become data scientist, then Kaggle is the best place. Why? Because on Kaggle, you can actually prove your rank. Let me show you. So if I go on Kaggle, there is this thing called as user ranking. So on Kaggle, there are currently more than 100,000 users. Out of 100,000 users, 72,000 people have not done anything. Simply opened account. They are automatically novices. If you complete your profile, run anybody's code, you become contributor. So expert is somebody who is a beginner in reality. So I am into this field of data science, though his expert is compared to the novice who doesn't know anything. But becoming expert is extremely easy. In few months, you can become expert. It just needs basic knowledge. It's the master which takes more time, 8 months or maybe 10 months. But if you reach here, you're guaranteed any kind of job. So when you show that you are in top 1000 plus 180 out of all of these people, then you can prove how good you are. So Kaggle is why it is useful, because it can actually prove your knowledge. It can improve your rank. You can be active on discussions. You can be active on notebooks. So it's pretty neat place. So another question is, data structures, are they useful data science job? Not really, but it does teach you problem solving and debugging skills, which are pretty useful. So I mean, you don't have to learn it, but if you had already learned it, it's useful. So any more questions? Okay, I'll stop the web stream.